crazy, insane, okay? Someone's here. We'll use these things, tablets. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to talk about life with 3 kids and how crazy it gets. Okay, life with 3 kids can be crazy and nuts and chaotic and just insane. Okay, but it's totally worth it and so fun, and I love it. I've always wanted to have a big family, and I have actually always wanted to have 4 kids. I've said for the longest time, as long as I can remember, that I've wanted 4 kids. I wanted 2 boys and 2 girls. So I'm almost there. Don't know if I'll have 4 kids, but I've got 3. And let's talk about how that is. I do have a list on my phone of things that I want to talk about because I am like the most forgetful person ever. So I wrote it all down on a list. I also have Ellie with me. You want to say hi? Do you want to say hi? Yeah, she wanted to say hi. The boys are upstairs with their dad. Say hello. Say hello. Ellie, look at you. So she's going to be hanging out with me while I record this. She's just hanging out on the floor here. And we're going to have a good time. Huh? We're going to have fun. Okay, so let's get started. I struggle with some things more than others. I'm going to keep looking at my phone. One of the things that I struggle the most with is comparing myself to other moms. I'm constantly looking at other moms and seeing how much they keep their cool together and how they talk to their kids and how much they yell and just like little things, because sometimes I think maybe I yell too much, or maybe I get frustrated too much, or maybe I do this too much, or not enough of that. And so I'm constantly looking at other moms and I'm comparing myself because I am not a very confident person. And while I'd like to think that I'm a good mom, sometimes I question that. And I feel like every mom does that. But sometimes I just question, like, am I making the right decisions? Am I being too hard? Am I yelling too much, like I said? So I compare myself a lot, and that's one of the things that I struggle with, which I need to stop, and I've been working on. Yeah, so I compare myself a lot to other moms, and I'm trying to work on that. And if you compare yourself to other moms, you should stop, because we all parent differently. We all lose our sometimes. We are all too nice sometimes, if that's even a thing. Like, we all have our strengths and our weaknesses, and we all have our times where we're complete ass, and it just happens. So, whatever. I also have tried my best to stop doing this. I compare my kids to other kids, and someone's here.
Hey! What's up?
What are you doing? What are you doing? Whoa. What are you doing? What are you doing? So one thing that I've been trying really hard not to do is comparing my kids to other kids. I try not to compare them to other kids. It does happen, you know, we'll go out in public and I'll think, why are these kids sitting there perfectly quiet and my kids aren't? And you just can't do that, because while those kids are sitting there perfectly right then and there, maybe 5 minutes before you got there they weren't, or maybe they act like total hooligans at home. Like, who knows, honestly. Like, you just can't compare your kids to other kids, because every child is different, and that's just not fair, because then you're setting yourself up for expectations that just aren't realistic. So you got to stop comparing yourself, and you got to stop comparing your kids. That's one thing, 2 things that I have really been trying hard to work on, because when I compare myself to other moms that I see, I disappoint myself, because I feel like people, when they're out in public, and I'm guilty of this too, you're different than when you're at home. I tend to yell more at home than I do in public. So if someone saw me at home versus in public, they might not think that I'm the same person. Just because at home you kind of let loose a little bit, and that's kind of how I am too. So I try not to compare myself to other people, because it just makes me feel like crap. Because then I think, maybe I'm not a good mom, maybe I'm doing this wrong, maybe I'm making the wrong decisions or whatever, and it's just something that you have to stop. It's something that I have to stop, and it's something that I'm working on. Which, within public, going out in public for me alone, when I'm with Brandon, it's much easier, because he kind of handles the boys, or we kind of take turns, and then I kind of just take care of Ellie. She is breastfed, she's with me 24/7, so I am her comfort. Huh, you love me. You love me so much. I am her comfort, so when we go out in public, it's a little bit easier when Brandon's there. When Brandon is not there, oh my gosh, I have a hard time going out in public when Brandon isn't there. But what I do with the boys is I set my expectations. I make them very, very clear. I let them know when we're getting ready, this is what I expect. This is where we're going. This is what I expect of you. And if you don't do it, this is what's going to happen. Okay, so I let them know when we're getting ready. I let them know when we get in the car and are leaving there. Sometimes I'll remind them on the way there of what I expect of them. I let them know when we get there, this is what I expect of you. Again, please remember, you need to do this, 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 and this. Do not do this, 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 or this. And if you act out or misbehave, then this is going to happen. If you're good and you guys behave perfectly like I've asked, then maybe we'll go to the park after, or maybe we'll go get a prize depending on when it is. Like, I try to set my expectations, and then I try to have rewards and consequences. That way they know, if I act out while I'm there, this is going to happen to me. I'm going to go home and I'm going to go in timeout, or I'm going to lose privileges, or I'm going to have to go to bed. But if I'm good, then I'm going to get this, or we're going to have some park time, or we're going to have something, some sort of reward for that. So I try and make those expectations very clear. With that being said, you also have to set very realistic expectations. I have a 7-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 3-month-old. So what I expect of my 7-year-old is a little bit more than I expect of my 3-year-old. What? Are you hungry? Are you hungry? And then I just expect Ellie to want the boobs all the time. So what I expect of my 7-year-old is going to be more than what I'm expecting from my 3-year-old. And you also have to think too, like going out in public. The doctor's office is not fun for a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old. So they're going to be a little bit wild, which has happened to me. And they're just not going to sit there and be quiet the whole time, in my opinion. At least my boys aren't. And I'm not going to expect that of them. They can go play. They can have fun. They're not going to sit there and scream and yell, but they can still have a little bit of fun. They don't need to sit right next to me and be quiet, just like at dinner. I can't expect them to just sit there and be quiet and do nothing. It's not fair. It's just, you have to set realistic expectations for them. There was a point that, you know, back to going out in public. I'm going to jump all over the place. Whatever. Back to going out in public by myself. It's hard. When I went to the doctor's office for Ellie's first checkup after having her. So she was seen, and I took the boys for the very first time. And I didn't set expectations. I didn't think about it. We just went, and we were there, and oh my God. We got back there, and the boys were so loud. They were play fighting, and I was so frustrated. Like, they weren't even being mean to each other. They weren't, like, acting out. They were just playing, but they were so loud, and I was so frustrated, and I was embarrassed. So I kept telling them, boys, stop, boys, stop, boys, stop, please stop, please stop, please stop. And their doctor finally looked at me, and he goes, I can talk over them if you can ignore it. And at that point, I realized that I was making a bigger deal of it than he was, and that's probably why they kept doing it, because I was making such a big deal of it. So that brings me to, sometimes you have to ignore it. You have to walk away, ignore it, whatever. With Dominic especially, he's 3, and I have a 3-nager. And there are times where he will be throwing a fit, and I am so frustrated. And there have been times where I'm just like yelling at him, and I'm frustrated. I'm like, you need to stop. Knock it off now. And it just makes him cry more, and it just prolongs it. It makes it way more of an issue than it needs to be. So with him, depending on the situation, if he's crying and throwing a fit, I'm going to walk away and I'm going to ignore you, and he'll stop. He's not going to sit there and cry as long. He's not going to sit there and throw a fit as long. He will stop much faster than if I was sitting there just yelling at him super frustrated. Another thing that I've been doing that helps me with the 3 of them is if Brayden and Dominic are fighting, Dominic's at the point now where he understands right and wrong. And if him and Brayden are fighting, I've kind of been letting them work it out themselves. I used to be that mom that was like on it every second, like stop, 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 stop doing that, stop doing this, stop doing that. And when they're arguing with each other, I kind of just let it go and let them figure it out. Unless they're like going to physically hurt each other. The hard thing is Dominic will come up to Brayden and he'll smack him. And we have been telling Brayden that he needs to not do it back. But then that puts a lot of pressure on Brayden and a lot of, well, why is he allowed to hit me but I can't hit him back? And so for me, I don't want them running around hitting each other. But Dominic also needs to learn that he can't just hit Brayden and get away with it and just be sent to timeout. You know, he needs to learn that it hurts, that it's not okay. And so I'm kind of stuck on that, on whether do I let Brayden hit him back to show him, like, don't do that to me, or, you know, what do we do? I don't know. But I've been trying to let them solve their own problem. If Brayden's arguing with someone else that isn't our child, or they're having an issue, I try to step in, because I can't say when enough is enough for that other kid. They're not my child. So I try to step in, because I just don't, I don't know. I just don't like him fighting with other kids, you know? They're not my kids. I can't say what their limits are and things like that. So I try to jump in and kind of squash that as fast as I can, but you never know. So I try to let them solve their problems. Another thing that seems to help us is once the boys are old enough, we enroll them in sports. So Brayden plays football, regular tackle football. He also has started a flag football, and then Dominic is starting soccer. That seems to really help with just getting them out of the house, because getting them out of the house helps us so much when it's me and Brandon, you know, taking them to do things. It just makes life easier. They enjoy it, and we're not sitting at home just frustrated, you know. We actually get out of the house and do things. So putting them in sports seems to help a lot, because they enjoy it. And then it gets us all out of the house, which I think just kind of helps all around, whether you have one child or three. It really, really helps. So we do that. We do park time, you know, we go in, they have trampoline parks, and we do stuff like that. Even just letting them go play outside seems to help a little bit. It kind of gives them a little bit of free time, and just kind of, they're not sitting inside doing nothing. They're outside playing, and it seems to help. And when all else fails, I am the mom, and I will use these things, tablets, electronics. The boys actually, funny thing, I make YouTube videos now. The boys actually aren't allowed to watch YouTube anymore. We took that away when the whole Momo thing came out. We kind of used that as an excuse, because I was letting them watch YouTube probably way too much, way more than they should have been watching it. So we kind of took that away just so that that's not what they're asking for all the time. The kids don't ask for it anymore. They do have some games on our phones, and they do have their own tablets that they're allowed to play, and we have Netflix on our phone and tablets and things like that. But their screen time isn't as much as it was before. But if I need to cook dinner and the kids are just going at it, or if I'm working, I work from home, and Dominic is like in my face every 5 minutes, I'll give him his tablet, and he has educational games and things that he can play on there. That he does. He has puzzles and things like that. But I'll give him his tablet and say, hey, can you go sit down for an hour? Can you go sit down for 30 minutes? And, you know, I'll be there in just a minute, or, you know, whatever. But sometimes we do use electronics, and that's perfectly fine. I think that people who judge you for using electronics are ridiculous. Like, whatever works for you works for you. Whether your child is on the tablet all day, I mean, that's your choice, and that's perfectly fine. So we do use electronics sometimes. As well as going outside, especially when the weather is kind of crappy. I don't like to go out in the cold, and especially with Ellie. So if it's cold, like, we're not going to go outside and play all day. So we'll play with toys and things like that. But you just have to do what works for you, and you have to, it's all about trial and error. Some things you think will work and they don't, and some things that you don't think will work amazing. It really just depends on the child and on your family. You have to do what works best for your family and what works for you. And every day is a learning experience. You really just have to take it day by day, and that's how we are. Every day is different. Some days we have really, really good days where the kids have behaved all day long, and it's just been a great day. And then we have other days where they are just not listening and fighting all day, and it's just been a really rough day. And that's fine. You really just have to take it day by day. And at the end of the day, one thing that helps me is I always, I'm sure every parent does this, but I always hug and kiss them goodnight. And I come to them, I give them a hug, I give them a kiss, I look them in the eyes, and I tell them that I love them so much. And one, they love it. And two, it just makes me feel better, especially after a hard day. Just telling them that I love them so much and getting that hug and the kiss, it kind of like wipes the slate clean, and it like just gets rid of the bad day that you had, and it kind of makes it better. So that is just kind of what works for me. The last thing that really helps us is, one, Brayden is a little bit older, so he's 7 and he can kind of help with things like, if I'm working and Dominic is asking me for something and Brayden's home, I can say, hey Brayden, can you grab this for your brother really quick? Can you grab me this? Or he's very helpful when I need something. But you just really need to ask for help when you need it, whether it's from your older kids, from your spouse, from family. Like, just ask for help. I'm a control freak, so I will ask for help and then someone will do it, but it's not the way that I would want it done, so then I just do it myself or I get frustrated, and that's really hard. But you really just have to ask for help. That's it for today, guys. If you liked this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. My plan is to get videos uploaded every Wednesday and every Friday. Wish me luck with that. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. Bye.